We're seeing more and more sport leagues around the world having to deal with the new COVID-19 variant Omicron. And many sport fans must be wondering, what does this mean for live sport? To get a professional opinion, we brought in infection control epidemiologist Colin Furness. Colin, you've been keeping your eye on live sport for a while now. In early to mid-November, you mentioned that full stadiums are dumb, and that's a quote. So can you explain why you said that and whether there was a middle ground you wanted to see in November and especially now?
Absolutely. I mean, let's be clear. I favor professional sports and I favor people's ability to go. And I think as a motivation to get vaccinated, there's nothing like being able to go to a game that you haven't been able to go to in some time. So I think overall, this is a very positive thing. What the dumb part is to say that we can do this full blast, that we can be in a full stadium. And, I've been to stadium games too many times. It's not like the opera, where everyone comes in quietly and puts their mask on and sits there and doesn't breathe and is triple vaxxed because of their age. That's not it. What we have in a stadium, regardless of sport, is the opposite. You've got hooting and hollering and not mask wearing. You've got serious crowding and congesting around concession stands, around bathrooms, around entrances and exits, and public transit before and after. So if you look at the whole package, you've got a large amount of uncontrolled social contact. And I know some people would say, well, if everyone's vaccinated, it's safe. And I've got to say, first of all, there's a lot of forged vaccine credentials out there. Second, people who are vaccinated can get sick. And third, Omicron doesn't care if you've had 2 shots. So if this was done before Omicron, it becomes downright dangerous now.
Well, speaking of Omicron, what are your expectations for live sport now that we are entering / very much in the Omicron era of COVID-19?
I hate to say it, but we're going to have to stop. Not for a very long period of time. We're not going to be able to do live events for the next several weeks. There's no way. Omicron is going to be devastating, not in its severity, but in its contagiousness. I think that's what's really important. Is it doesn't need to be more severe in order to cause serious harm, in order to overwhelm our healthcare system, because a small fraction of the population getting desperately ill is all we need to be in a very bad way. And your average stadium fan may not be in that demographic, but they certainly coexist with people in that demographic. So in terms of just danger to all of us, we cannot have large gatherings, and stadiums are the largest there is.
So if there are no fans in the stands, do you think we can still expect sport leagues to continue to operate? And if they do, how will they be able to do that with teams traveling to play games?
I suspect that the safest, smartest thing for any pro sports league is to suspend operations for a few weeks. And I think the reason for that, is not punitive. The reason for that is to say you want to keep your players safe. And they've probably all had 2 shots, which means, as far as Omicron is concerned, functionally speaking, they're not vaccinated. So if your whole team is not vaccinated, functionally speaking, you've got a huge risk. And if you're a club owner, I don't think you want to put your asset at that kind of risk. So I think it makes sense to hibernate and to not have social contact for a number of weeks, not months, not forever, but a number of weeks. Omicron is coming fast, and it will also leave fast. And whether it causes a giant amount of destruction is really up to us. So that would be my suggestion.
So you think we're heading into another sports shutdown? Maybe not for as long as the first time, but definitely one, whether it's a matter of weeks, maybe a month.
I think January is going to be very unpleasant in Ontario, and that time frame is going to vary depending on where you are. So it may have to be, in a sense, depending on where teams are and depending on how Omicron moves, there's a little bit of luck involved in terms of super spreader events that can make Omicron take root more quickly or less quickly. That's really hard to predict. But I'd like to measure this upcoming mess in terms of weeks and not months. And I think that's a really important thing.
Last question. Now that there's a third booster, do you think that finding boosters and getting people vaccinated is becoming a trend? And is there a way to break this cycle of variant discovery and then fighting it with boosters, or is that our visible future?
Well, it's a crystal ball question, but I can tell you that I can give you an opinion, not fact. And that is that we know COVID is a slow mutator. I know it doesn't seem that way, but it is, genetically speaking, a very slow mutator for a virus, which means if we can get global prevalence down, If we can actually get COVID to stop circulating, we win. And that's doable. That's absolutely doable. We know now that a third shot is effective against this new variant. We also know this variant is so contagious. It may be, in a weird way, it may be good news because it becomes the foe that we know. It will prevent other variants from taking root, other variants that might be more problematic, because now they're going to have to be at least as contagious in order to compete. So this monopoly by Omicron, once we get that third shot, may make it very easy to control. It's just getting there that's difficult. It's that short-term thing. So I don't want people thinking that this is going to be an endless cycle. It doesn't need to be. We have a 3-shot vaccine. That's what it is. It's possible we may need a booster shot that is designed for Omicron. That may be something that may be a 4th shot in 2022. But I don't think it's going to be endless. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we win. It's just the end game is taking longer, and it keeps on taking longer than we wish. And that can make it seem like it's taking forever. But I think we are winning, and I think we will win. We just have to really understand our foe, and we have to really organize a response that's attuned to this, that helps us manage this rather than having the virus own us.